Hello everyone and welcome to Beginner's Code, a place for you to keep up to date with my journey as I dive deeper into the coding world. Before I start, if you haven't yet, please check out my new website that went live yesterday. Take a look at my posts on Instagram that go into detail about the basics of Python, or if you're looking for source code for some projects, then by all means check out my GitHub, where there are almost 70 projects that you can explore. The links for these will all be in the description below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to see more videos from me as I teach you through the basics of Python. So, just quickly, I am a self-taught web developer and have been learning Python for almost 6 months now. I created Beginner's Code to help others that were in the same position as me when I first started. YouTube was a place that helped me massively with tutorials that not only showed the code, but actually explained what was happening. So I'm hoping to create content that will help explain what things mean and how you can use it to benefit your own coding skills. If you're needing help or want me to cover anything in particular, don't hesitate in reaching out to me on my website or through social media. But enough about me. Today's video is going to be about something I wish I learned from day one. What actually is Python? Python was created by Guido van Rossum, a Dutch programmer in 1991. Apparently, he was looking for a hobby that would keep him occupied during Christmas time and ended up creating a new programming language which he chose to call Python, after Monty Python's Flying Circus. So what is a programming language? Well, in everyday life, we have a few different languages and not just your conventional spoken language. We also have facial expressions and body languages. However, a programming language is much more like a language you would use to communicate with a trained animal. They are a list of instructions that the animal would pick up on and understand what you mean. In a computer's case, this is called a machine language. Just like languages that we speak, machine languages have strict rules that are created through different elements. For programming, the four main elements are an alphabet, a lexis, a syntax, and semantics. The alphabet includes symbols that create a set of commands known as an instruction list. These can be from different languages, such as the Latin alphabet for the majority of Romance languages, or kanji for Japanese, just to name a couple. The lexis is a set of words that the language can offer to its users. For example, in Python, we have many key words, including for and while, which mean one thing in English, however mean another for a computer. The syntax is a set of rules that the language must include. This could be the use of a semicolon at the end of a line, or just including a comma to separate list elements. Finally, semantics determine whether or not a phrase makes sense. With Python, if you were trying to assign a variable, it would not be semantically correct to place a string before the variable name, as the computer would not understand what is meant by this. Just like run I mile a does not make semantic sense, but I run a mile does. When it comes to programming, once you have successfully written your code, there are two main ways of transforming it into a machine language. These are known as compiled or interpreted. Luckily, the basics of Python is interpreted, which means that each time your code is run, it is automatically transformed, usually by a text editor such as PyCharm, into a machine-accessible language. The main downside to this is that if you were to distribute your source code to someone else, they would also need an interpreter installed to be able to run it. With Python being interpreted, if there are any errors within the code, it will finish immediately and result in an error message, or in Python's case, a traceback, which will state where the error occurred and a small insight into why. These languages are often known as high-level, as they allow for words and conventions that are extremely readable to humans, but are still able to be executed by machines, almost acting like a bridge between the ones and zeros and English. Other languages such as C are low-level, meaning it is much closer to a machine's natural language. Using low-level languages would mean you have to compile the source code and translate it into an executable format every time a change was made. Another bonus for Python is the fact that it's dynamically typed. This means that you don't have to declare exactly what data a variable will be assigned before assigning. Python understands that a string is a string and an integer is an integer. Python also allows for object-oriented programming. But what does this mean? Well, everything in Python is an object, which means that object-oriented programming can be very accessible throughout your code. Object-oriented programming is something that I will be going into more detail soon. But for now, if you imagine a social media user, each user will have a name, an email, an age, and a username. They will also have methods that each user will be able to access, such as sending a tweet or posting a photo. However, with object-oriented programming, we can create just one piece of code for multiple users that will all follow the same strict rules. As we progress through the basics of Python, you will learn to realize how readable the language is compared to others. That is one of Python's main attributes. No matter how you progress in Python or what you use it for, its readability is always simple and its syntax is relatively easy to learn. This may be a huge factor as to why Python has grown massively over the years. Its shift from Python 2 to Python 3 allowed for more users to really engage with their own code. After using Google Trends to find the data, I created this graph which shows that Python was the most Googled language of 2020, with Java not far behind. But what does this mean? Well, it could suggest that Python has a massive user base, which it does, but I think this is more because of Python's use. Lots of frameworks have been created that allow Python to be used for many different reasons, whether it's web development, data science, machine learning, AI, or game development. You can find a lot of answers to your problems with just a simple Google search. And this brings me to the end of today's video. If you like this video and want to see more, please don't forget to give it a like or subscribe to my channel. In the coming weeks, I will be covering the fundamentals of Python, including code-alongs that can help you understand how to create your own programs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time where we cover how to install Python and create your first line of code.